Hey there, people, it's the H-Man coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Today I'll be bringing you my team builder and game replay for my week 3 game of the UBL against Cerulean City Gyarados. Um, they're 2-0 on both of their first games, whereas we're 1-1. As you'd remember that bad week 1 defeat that we took. I thought about we were trying to bounce back, trying to get a little win streak here. We're on the right track last week. I wanted to keep going with that this week and win. Here's my opponent team. So looking at my opponent team, in the first 2 weeks he really used that fly gun efficiently. Was scarfed for the first 2 weeks. So I wanted to take some precautions against that fly gun, and looking at comparing our teams, that Volcanion can pose a problem, especially if it's a Scarf Volcanion outspeeding some of my mounts like my Mega Heracross and all, and can pick up KOs or hurt them like really much. Can be a good wall breaker too. And having that Mega Absol in the bag also kind of has a good matchup against my team, especially with that Sucker Punch, which punishes my Blacephalon. So I was wary of those mounts, plus there's that Clefable. It'll be hard to break as well, because I don't have a good, I have Magnezone to maybe be able to check that, but can't really bring all the mounts here. Other than that, looking at his team, he's got that Jirachi Rainiclist. I wasn't really worried about Rainiclist. I thought Jirachi might have come, but wouldn't be so much of a trouble against my team as well. I was a bit worried about Gardar as well. As you know, I've been talking about this a lot. My team overall has a fighting type weakness, can be exploited, so that Gardar could also come, and that Ferroseed could have been annoying, so you need to kind of prep for that as well. So looking at the team that I brought, my first member is Rhyperior with Air Balloon and Solid Rock ability. Now I put an Air Balloon there against that Scarf Flygon potentially. If he goes for an Earthquake and I know it's Scarfed, I can just switch in my Rhyperior real easy, and it had to switch out. There I can rather set up my rocks or click Earthquake, which would get good damage against pretty much all of his team. That Gordar of course needs to lose his Eviolite before getting good damage from that Earthquake. I put Protector as well to scout out some moves against Scarf users such as Volcanion, which is again a possibility. Put 136 attack with Adamant Nature, which I believe to avoid KO that Jirachi, potentially if it's not too bulky with my Earthquake, and then the rest of the EVs went to HP and Speed Def to be able to take some hits a little bit more easily. So my next number is that Blacephalon. I put Aggro Berry on it with Calm Mind, Shadow Ball, Flamethrower, and Substitute. I thought maybe against something passive in his team, I might be able to put up a sub, and from there I can actually utilize Blacephalon. I mean, if the potential arises, I can Calm Mind up, which will be pretty troublesome for my opponent if I can Calm Mind up behind the sub, because I believe he wouldn't be very scared of my Blacephalon, because he's got that Mega Absol, and the Sucker Punch will take out my Blacephalon either way. So that's why getting behind the sub I thought would be reasonable. Put a 200 speed there because I didn't really bother trying to outspeed other mons, because that Mega Absol and that Galvantula would outspeed me regardless, and Mega Absol doesn't even need to outspeed me, so Ring a Scarf set wouldn't really be that efficient as well. So my next mon was my Mega Heracross. So I brought my Mega Heracross and put 216 speed on it with a Jolly Nature. This is because to outspeed non-choice Scarf Volcanion. Volcanion would beat my Heracross, but my Heracross would beat the Volcanion as well. It's depending on the speeds. And other than that, with the move coverage that I brought, Close Combat, P-Missile, and Rock Blast, it would pretty much hit all of its team. Outside of a maybe defensive Clefable or like a Eviolite Ferroseed could be troubling. But that's why we got knockoff. I want to be able to knock off that Violite or Scarf users that are there if I get the opportunity to hit something on the switch in. That knockoff is a really good coverage move against my opponent right now. And with my next mon, I brought a special defensive mid tank with tick pad and leftovers. And the main reason I brought this was to take a hit, take a like fire blast from that Volcanion with that tick pad and full speed def. You will be able to take that and milk drink up or like click Thunder Wave or set up rocks and be a nuisance to the opposing team as it always is. That was pretty much the idea, to take some special hits, especially from that Volcanion, as none other one of my mons doesn't really appreciate taking a fire blast from that Volcanion, and it can always specs as well, so I can't really depend on my Rhyperior at that end. And I wouldn't want my Rhyperior to lose its air balloon anyway, so I won't be thinking of switching my Rhyperior in a Volcanion attack in the early game without knowing what type of Flygon set it is. With my next mon, I decided to bring in Polion. I needed a defog user. Looking at his team, he's got lots of mons that can set up rocks. I got one Tula to set up that Sticky Web, and Ferroseed potentially can set up spikes. So to be wary of those hazards, I really needed to bring a defog user. It was Empoleon with the Eye of Papa Bear and Define ability. So defog, knockoff, flash cannon, and Scold. I put knockoff there to be kind of like a utility move, to be able to knock off a Scarf or a Violite again. It may be very useful if my opponent doesn't expect it. Flash cannon to be able to hit that Clefable potentially, because the Clefable can't do much to us in return because it can't Toxic Empoleon, which is also nice. If that Clefable is not very special defensive, I think I can beat it 1v1 with my Flash Cannon. Can't really recover too many hits. And Skull just for natural coverage at that move. Now this UV spread is a bit interesting, but it is to be able to take, won't be 2-hit KO'd by a Fire Blast from a Specs Volcanion, if I remember it correctly, and the rest of the EVs I just put some on attack and some on defense. As you can see. Now with my last mon, I went to an Assault West Curum. Again, as I told you before, my team doesn't really do well against that Volcanion, and if it's right there, I need to have some switch-ins to it, and Curum does that again. Can be kind of like a switch-in for the other especially offensive mons as well, being that Galvantula and that Rainiclus potentially. Doesn't really do well against that Clefable, but with that Assault West, I can actually take a couple of Moonblades, and with my Flash Cannon and my modest nature and full special attack investment, I can beat that Clefable depending on its set. If it's a defensive Clefable, I think I'd be able to beat it with my Flash Cannon, potentially. Ice Beam for stab coverage, Earth Power for that Volcanion, of course. I want to be able to take a hit from that and then retaliate with an Earth Power, and then HP Fire just for that Ferroseed and just for the coverage, because I really didn't need to put anything else right in there. So this is the team I chose to brought for this game. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. Looking at my opponent's team he brought, it was kind of expected. I wasn't sure if he'd bring the Galvantula or something else right there, but other than that, I was expecting those 5 mons as I told before. So I believe that I was well prepped for it. But what I noticed looking at this team in the preview was I probably won't get an opportunity to set up with my Blacephalon. I felt like that was an unnecessary bring. Felt like it was kind of bad. But it is what it is, and I brought it, so try to make the best out of it through the game. That's what I was thinking. As leads go, I figured that if we brought that Galvantula, it's probably webs, so I wanna start with that regular Galvantula set, and I thought that instead of clicking webs, it basically outspeeds all of my mons, and if you wanted to click like Thunder or something, I really didn't want anything to take that much damage, so my Curum would take that the best. I decided to lead off with my Curum. It's not that bad of a lead against the others as well, but I really expect that Galvantula to come up as he does. So I just clicked Ice Beam, thought I could take that, as he actually went for that Thunder Wave and missed. I was really fortunate there. I really wouldn't want to get my Curum paralyzed in turn 1. and he went for that sticky webs as I pick up that Galvantula. But now I have to deal with those webs because it kind of disturbs my my build. As he goes into his Gordar, I switch into my Heracross. Now I kind of was expecting that Gordar to maybe have Fire Punch. That's why I was a bit nervous if I should switch into my Heracross or not. Because only way I hurt this Gordar, even with his Eviolite gun, is with close combat in my Heracross, and with close combat, because I outspeed it, I'm gonna get to -1 defense, -2 defense, and if he packs that Fire Punch, he can do serious damage to my Heracross, which would be bad because I really don't want to lose my Heracross. But looking at my team, I really don't have something else to take that Gordar very well. He's got that knockoff, I won't be able to switch in my Blacephalon safely there. It'll be a would KO right away, and I think he was going for that because my Blacephalon would pressure it out, though with that Violite kind of doesn't. So I really needed to knock that off at some point, and here I actually click knockoff. He switches into that Volcanion, which is interesting because then I get to knock off that Volcanion's item, which was Choice Scarf, as I talked before. Now Volcanion losing his Choice Scarf right here was kind of bad for my opponent, because a Choice Scarf Volcanion would be a really big problem against my team, as I talked in my team preview. I don't know why he didn't go for something like Clef. I was expecting him to go to Clef, and him not going to Clef kind of made me thought maybe the Clef is specially defensive instead. Because the other ones, okay, they don't take, like, say, close combat very well, but this Volcanion doesn't take it as well. So I don't know what he was expecting there. Went to that Volcanion probably trying to pressure me out too, but really did not work out for me. It was really fortunate for me to knock off that Choice Scarf out of it. Here I switch. As he goes for a Steam Eruption, I figured if it weren't for the webs, I would have clicked Rock Blast, but because of those webs, I can't. So I really wanted to get rid of the webs. The defog, I went to Empoleon, and fortunately, the Earth Power's goal made me down to that 25%. So I get my berry to pop off. Clicks Earth Power again. It does nothing to my Curo. Now here I click Earth Power because I didn't think it'd go into that Flygon. And from the damage that it does to that Clefable, I figured that it was indeed special defensive, full special defensive. So I clicked that Flash Cannon, but it's not going to do that much. As he clicks Thunder Wave this time, I believe he brought Thunder Wave instead of Toxic, which kind of makes sense when he wants to go against my Empoleon. As he clicks Moonlight right here, thinking of clicking Flash Cannon, though it wouldn't do that much. Still, it's my best bet against that Clefable, but I wanted to get rid of its leftovers. Quite honestly, I wasn't expecting my opponent to go into Gordar or anything like that, but I clicked Knockoff. I suppose he wasn't expecting my Empoleon to carry Knockoff. It was really nice again. You'll get that Gordar on the switch in this time and get rid of that Violite. That was really, really nice. But still, I can't really stay in because I can't really do much to that Gordar, as he goes for a Toxic, expecting me to switch, and clicks Toxic on that Empoleon, and my Heracross got Toxic. So here I just click Close Combat to get damage against anything that's coming in as he goes into that Volcanion, and I kind of got rid of that Volcanion quite easily. Was a bit afraid of it, but in the end I dealt with it pretty easily. Now he goes into Zapsor right here. I think he'd carry Fire Blast, so I wanted to switch into something that can take it, but then I figured, like, what if he clicks something else? So I just switched into my Miltank just to be safe, and Tick Fat would take that Fire Blast the best, but he actually clicks Aerial Ace. I didn't even pay attention that a Mega Absol could have Aerial Ace. So under normal circumstances, if my Heracross was at full health, I calced that it would take the Fire Blast easily, and I believe if it was at full health, I might have actually stayed in expecting a Fire Blast or something and just get completely destroyed by that Aerial Ace. It's kind of fortunate that that situation did not happen. As he goes into his Clefable right here. I clicked Thunder Wave this time because that Clefable will be hard to break. Doing the calcs, the most damage I can put up against it was with my Rhyperior. Rhyperior's Earthquake. So yeah, I mean, it would be a nuisance. So I set up my rocks too, then switch into my Empoleon, thinking he'd go for rocks. Then I figured I really don't need to defog. He goes into his Flygon, as I click Flash Cannon this time. So now I'm thinking that Flygon's gonna click EQ. So I go to my Heracross because it would take it pretty comfortably, anything else from it as well. And I really wanted to learn that Flygon set at first. As he switches up to that Dragon Claw, now I know it's not Scarf. So Earthquake, Dragon Claw, I was expecting kind of like U-turn and Dragon Nest maybe. So I go to my Rhyperior and click Protect just to be sure that he was going to click that U-turn, and he does. Because if I actually clicked Ice Punch right there, I really wouldn't do damage to pretty much anything that's coming in with that Ice Punch, because that Gordor doesn't have the UBL right now. Anything outside of that Flygon would take serious damage from my Earthquake. So knowing he'd click that U-turn or switch out, I wanted to click that Earthquake. So he does click U-turn again, which is really fortunate, goes into that Gordor, and I click my Earthquake. It did 61% as you can see. Now I'm just going to pick it up with another Earthquake. I believe he would want to switch into his Flygon again. That's the best he can do. This time he's going to click that Earthquake, but that's not going to out KO me. Not even 2-hit KO me. I mean, that's how much of a defensive beast Rhyperior is. I can just click Ice Punch, pick that up. As it goes into a Clefable, which was amazing. As I said, this is the one that does the most damage because the Clefable is special defensive. Clicks Moonblast, but I leave that too with my Spadef investment. So right now I'm gonna pick up this KO as well. So Rhyperior putting in the work right here. I really wasn't expecting it to be this significant when I was making the builds, but that's Rhyperior for you. I mean, so far in the season, it's been really valuable for me. But this Absol is still a problem because if it packs that superpower, it hurts really hard against 3 of my mons and just Sucker Punch my Blacephalon. So I wanted to go to my Kyurem, and then if he actually clicks superpower, I want to go to my like Miltank and then Empoleon, maybe like click Thunder Wave with that Miltank, something like that, so that he'd have to click that superpower to get that attack drop, so that maybe my Blacephalon could leave a Sucker Punch. That was my thought process right there, as he actually clicks Knockoff. I don't know if he thought it kill or just doesn't have that superpower, or didn't want to take that attack drop. I don't know, but with that turn I actually won 4-0. So it was a good win. Rhyperior played a really big role, and with this win I actually got my differential at 2+1 after that devastating week 1 loss, and got a 2-win streak now, which is nice. Going into my week 4 game, I've been looking for a win, but my opponent is a really good player. I played with him a couple of times. It was really fun games. I'm expecting this one to be like that too. I'll be bringing it to you guys. So yeah, now we're 2-1, looking better. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.